The only structure we have that is a bit shaky is avoir. If we come together, these things will change.
Olalekan Ahmed is an award-winning African voiceover talent and broadcast media professional with nearly 2 decades of experience.
If you were going to start your voiceover career in 2024, what are the things you're going to do?
The first thing I need to do is...
With nearly 2 decades of experience, having worked with top brands like Netflix, Coca-Cola, Samsung, and Google, Ahmed shares with us his journey to the top.
I had access to international gigs when the likes of Voices.com were, just coming up.
Insights into what the industry was like in the old era of voiceover.
Of course, it's who knows you that will call you now. Imagine nobody knows you and you're doing, even if you have the best voice in the world, as long as nobody knows you, you're not getting any job. So the only way is just to...
And what it means to be a top-rated plus talent on Upwork.
Since you don't have agencies, well, not like we don't have them, but you don't have to rely on them anymore. How has that switch been for you? And would you say brands are still as receptive as back then when
I started getting better jobs, $50, $45, $100. I was already working with brands like Coke, Samsung. I was doing this $5, $10 thing, and it just started growing like that. By the end of the year, when I looked at my stats, I'd done over 21,000. I was like, wow,
Wow.
And I was like, there's business here, there's business here. So I paid full attention.
Hi guys, this is another episode of the Everything Voice Podcast, the Africa Perspective. I'm very, very happy today because finally we are having on the podcast one of the OGs in the industry. Because it's been a long time I've been wanting to have him on the podcast, and now it's just making much sense because I get to have him and Sarah. We get to have a well-rounded conversation. So welcome everybody to the Everything Voice podcast. Hello, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi, tcode. I'm doing great. It's such a pleasure to be here again. Doing our thing.
Yeah. And we had a great episode last week. I think we had fun talking about the things that happened the week before the Comic-Con and all of that, the conference and all. And I just want to, give me a feel of what your week has been like since that time till now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been settling back, getting back with the projects I've been working on, sending out, the hustle never really stops, exploring more opportunities, working on already existing work. Just the, regular work that, we're thankful every day that we get to do. So yeah. Really
Shout out to you. Well done. Same here. It's been a lot of work, content creation, video editing, voiceover recording, and now podcast recording. Yeah, we're here because we've got a special gentleman, an OG, someone whom I respect a lot in the industry. Is highly talented. Like when you hear his voice, you're just like, who is that man? Who's got that voice? And then he's been in our industry long enough to know what should be. And I mean, he just has a lot of experience, and I love to tap from his knowledge, his wealth of knowledge. I'm talking about no other person than Ahmed Olalekan, the award-winning voiceover artist from Nigeria. Hi, Ahmed.
What's up? What an introduction.
Hi, Ahmed.
Hi, Sarah. What's up? That's the other podcast, finally. Yeah.
No, I'm not really even introducing you because if I start to introduce you, you actually know.
You think 15,000 students in the industry is a joke?
You get
Like, I've always heard about Ahmed. I've seen him on. I don't until today. Actually, I'd never seen him online. I'd always just heard about him, and I'm like, such an OG. And then today, when I properly went into it, I was like, it is an honor. We're supposed to roll out red carpets.
Yeah.
Your career, your career path. Not path. The trajectory, and the things you've done. It's just amazing. What has that journey been like for you?
Well, it's been an interesting journey for me. Voiceover wise, since we're talking voiceovers now, for me there was no plan to go into voiceovers. Start. There's no arrangement. I know people who say, when I got into school, I knew I was going to be a voice talent and this. I never had that.
So mine just it started like an accident way back at the university. I think I was in my second year. We're having a broadcasting class. I was supposed to be inside that class, but because I didn't buy the book, Nigeria now, they have to push us outside. And somehow the PA of the guy who was teaching us, the legendary broadcaster, God rest his soul, the PA just walked up to me. I was like, why are you guys outside? You should learn these things. These things are important. And I was like, these people, they have wahala. Like, he just turned and looked at me. What did you say? These lecturers, they have too much wahala. I said, I like your voice. That was the first time. That was the first time I actually got a professional accolade about somebody saying that. Yeah, before then I used to speak, and people would be like, wow, I like the way you talk. But that was the very first time it struck me. The way he said it, wow. Do you know you're a very good broadcaster? I said, broadcaster, how now? So that was how it started for me. He introduced me to a training. There's this Alpha Institute of Broadcasting and Communications in Porthacort there, and I went for the training. And I came back. I went to an IT radio station, and the first time.
Wow. Ahmed, give us an idea of when this was happening. Was like the late 2000s or the early 2010s.
Wow.
So your voiceover career started in 2005. Safe to say, right? I mean, it's such a long.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's almost 20 years, right? That's like 19 years.
And because of my excitement, we didn't go into introducing him properly and talking about the brands he's worked for and the amazing things he's done. My body was just like, please, let's blow this past properly. So, tcode, now you get to that.
I mean, okay, so just a bit of background to whom Ahmed is a broadcaster. He's a broadcaster with Metro FM in Lagos with nearly 2 decades of experience, obviously, like you can see, with this deep voice and everything like that. He's done voiceovers for top brands across Nigeria, Europe, Africa, different parts of the world. And you can think about brands like Google, Coca-Cola, Samsung, Netflix. He has done it all. He's been there, seen this, done that. He's also an award winner on, different platforms. I know he was nominated at the ABVA Awards one time. I can't remember now if you eventually won that award. I should have checked. But yes, you won actually the Voiceover Artist of the Year at the Icon Nobel Awards in 2022. You've been nominated for Best Radio Presenter before, Best Newsreader. I mean, you've done a lot of things, and you've also moved from different stations. Like you started your career in Porthacort and stuff like that, and now you're in Lagos. You're in the heart of where entertainment lies. So yeah, Ahmed has been here. He has done this and he has done that. I'm gonna have to slice this part of the podcast away because Ahmed is not here right now.
To point out, but I didn't want to cut your flow.
That flow, right? Yeah.
I think his network took him out.
Finally.
Oh, yay.
Sarah, do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see that headphone? We can hear you.
I see it.
Ahmed.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Do you recognize it?
What headphone is
Wait,
that?
I'm not certain. It's not
With
it's
this
not
one?
super clear.
From a distance, I can guess that
It
that's
looks
the
like-
Behringer. Did I say Behringer? Bear Dynamics.
Fire Dynamics.
Bear Dynamics.
Is it 660 something? I can't remember.
Yeah, something around that.
Yo, these headphones, I remember my first workplace.
Close back, yeah.
The first
Go
studio
on.
that I got to work in. These headphones, they suffered in my hands. I can't remember the exact brand name, but I know it has 660 on it or something.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're
this
correct.
this one is 770.
770.
770.
Yeah, 770
Yes,
Pro.
this guy.
I love
Yeah.
that headphone.
TT.
And
The sound
there's
is
this other
so
one,
beautiful.
Sony.
Back.
If I wasn't
Yeah.
in a
It's cool
relationship
for
with
mixing.
audio
When you're
technica,
mixing,
that
it's
would
really
be my
cool.
guy.
I'm telling you. I'm going to buy one of those. Either the Sony. There's one Sony one like that. I can't remember the number now. And this one. Those are like the two that I'm eyeing. But anyways, enough of
Audio
the
You're a
Technica has
senior,
a
you're a
key
senior
mode,
guy
I
now.
don't
You can afford
understand.
it now. We are
Boss, no,
seeing
they
your
why
doings.
me. Speaking
You
of
can,
which,
man.
Sarah is also an audio nerd. Just so
Oh,
you know,
okay,
right?
cool.
She has a home studio, which you know is like a
I'm
hot
recording from right
spot in
now.
Abuja.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this your home studio,
And she's a
Sarah?
producer.
Yes, it is.
What, like music producer, film producer?
No.
Audio.
So I
What?
created a studio for voiceover artists in Abuja.
Okay.
We don't
Okay,
have
like you
any of that, and
direct
I noticed
voiceover
that it's something
sessions.
people. You said?
Like you direct voiceover sessions, right?
Well, not just directing. Like you can, I direct, yes, but it's whether I'm around or not. You have a space that's just like a sanctuary for voiceover artists and storytellers of all kinds. You can just come
Oh,
around.
okay, cool.
You can have your podcasts recorded here. If you're narrating an audiobook, you can come and narrate it here. If you're doing voiceovers for a video game, this is the place. That sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I noticed
Business
that
data.
most.
That's the way to go.
Great. I'm just a bit of spoiler, guys. All of this part of the talking about audio part, it's going to be on the podcast. So I like it. Anyway, let's get back to the podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're right back. We were back before you heard all of that, and yes, we're still back because we had a little bit of internet glitch, but then we will take care of some of those things in post production and have you enjoy the podcast like you're enjoying it already. So we still got the amazing Ahmed Olalekan, and I just give you a bit of his background, what he has been into, and all of that. So Ahmed, we're here because we want to know more about what you've been doing, and it's good that you told us how you started, and I want to ask you a question, and this is like me just going straight into it. If you were going to start your voiceover career in 2024, let's assume that you didn't have a voiceover career before, but with everything that you know right now, what are the things you're going to do to have the kind of voiceover career that you have right now, or even better?
So as I said earlier, my journey wasn't planned. It's just hit here,
Mm.
hit here, hit here. But if I look back and see how far I've come by God's grace, the first thing I need to do is I would have started a career. I'll start a career in 2024 with a studio. So when I started, I didn't own a studio. That caused a lot of trouble for me. It made me miss a number of gigs. I mean, home studios were not very popular then. You need to go to a big studio. But if I had the opportunity of a home studio, like I had information that I could get a small mic, a system and, sound card and do my thing from my space, I would have gone far, 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 far. Because at the point, I had access to international gigs when the likes of voices.com were just coming up. People were not, it was not as crowded as it is now, access to all that. But when you have a gig, the way voices.com works. You have to do auditions and
Yeah.
all and all and all. Imagine not having a studio and you have to pay for every audition you do. You have to pay a studio guy to do that for you. So I think one thing I would have done differently is to get a space, a small recording space. That's one thing that is underrated when it comes to voiceover artists just starting out.
Nice. Speaking of underrated or things that voiceover artists underrate, last week we were talking about common mistakes that voiceover artists make, and we shared a couple of them, and we were going to continue that thread this week, but then we said let's have Ahmed also, and let's talk about things together. So Ahmed, having mentioned that, what are the other things that you've noticed that you could say are mistakes voiceover artists make that when they're just starting their career? And you can also
Yeah,
reference the mistakes
absolutely.
you made yourself, yeah.
Okay, so voiceover is a business. It's then sometimes voice talents do not accept that, or maybe they don't understand it properly, that it's a business. It has to be seen like a business. So one mistake I made was when I started out back then, I was getting a lot of scripts, too many scripts in a day. Sometimes I was working in a radio station as what do they call them again? As an IT, I was doing my IT in a radio station, but I was doing a lot of the voiceover scripts back then in Porthacort because of my mentor had access to those guys, and I didn't start seeing voiceover as a business. It was a big mistake that I made. I was seeing voiceover as play thing, give him a script, just act. What so get it, so it made me lose a huge part of my career that would have added to what I'm grateful for where I am. I'm grateful, but I lost some things that I would have added to myself now. So I didn't pay attention to branding. I just saw it like, oh, there's a script, run, come, well, do and go. So seeing it as a business, if I had seen voiceover as a business back then, I would have probably packaged it properly. You get. So I think young voiceover talents still make that mistakes. They still make that mistake. They see voiceover as just give me a script, I'll read the script and I'm gone. No, it's a business. You can actually make a fortune doing voiceovers. That's one of the mistake. Another mistake that people make, young voiceover talents, is sometimes you get carried away. So it's like, I don't know if I call it this celebrity rush thing. Like you hear your voice everywhere. You know what it feels like? You're listening to the radio, small boy, small girl, and you can hear your voice on this commercial, on that commercial. Chances are that thing can get into your head. It's happening to voice talents today, young voice talents. If you're not careful, it will get into your head and ruin your career. So let me give my own example. For instance, there was a time I had back then in Porthacort, there were just I think it was just 3 radio stations. You know what it means to have 3 radio stations in a whole state. It was
Wow.
okay, no, they had the states, they had Treasure FM, they had Rhythm. I think they had one other one then. So I was doing jobs and I had my voice almost everywhere. It got into me. At a point, people will come to me and like, we need to do this thing. I was feeling like a senior man already. As a young voiceover talent, we're talking about 2-3 years into my career. You get, and some people were not cool with it, which is normal. Some said like pride, some said like I was being too forward, and it made me lose some contacts at a point. But I got to learn that later on in my career. So it's something that young voiceover talents can fall for. I mean, you just see yourself, you're doing one or two, you have your voices everywhere, you have your voice everywhere, and you feel you're there already. Voice talents need to watch out for that.
So what were the things you had to tell yourself to put you back on track, to remind yourself, and humble yourself? What were the things that you had to remind yourself of?
So I got opportunities to start attending seminars. I met somebody who introduced me to these seminars that they help, or you need to be a part of it, And somehow I started hearing things that changed my mindset, not just for voiceover. It changed my perspective about life, my career entirely. So that helped me a lot. I remember a session we attended and they were like, the moment you start feeling you are there, I can't forget that. The moment you start feeling you're there, you're not there anymore. And that struck me like, oh, wow. So, that started making me think through, because I was feeling that way already. Your voice is here, your voice is there. So it made me retrace my steps. I started looking in words. I started paying less attention to the work I was doing. And I was paying more attention to building myself, making myself better. And I think it brought me back to the right path.
Amazing.
That's so profound.
So, I mean, Tico, do you have any more questions
Sarah.
on that? Because I'm ready to dive into what it's been like being in the industry for over 2 decades,
Please do. Go on.
Okay. So, I mean, Ahmed, you've been in the industry for over 2 decades, and you've seen the industry grow, evolve, change. How would you say the African voiceover landscape has evolved in your eyes? What are things that have changed? Things that used to be that are no longer there, the good and the bad.
Okay, so well, the landscape has really changed, as you rightly mentioned. A lot has happened. I remember when it used to be directly you have to do a job, you have to do it through an agency. So you can't, I
Yeah.
mean, you can't, it's hard, it's almost impossible to do a job without an agency. They have to call you, guy, come studio. Now, so studio they use to come and record, you go there. Sometimes you have the brand manager, you have a lot of people in the studio who are directing and all that. So the industry has, I can't remember the last time I saw too many people in the studio directing a voice session. It used to be the norm then. So that has changed. It has moved from that space to a space where voice talents can now work directly with brands. I mean, a brand manager for a particular brand could just reach out to you and say, I like your voice. Can you be on this project? You just sign contracts, back, and you're doing the job. So that's a major change. That's a major change in industry. Well, it has its good sides. It also has its bad sides. For the good side, is when we used to have so many people in the studio. For instance, you have a brand, say brand A wants to do a video recording for a TV commercial, and your voice is selected to represent that brand. You get to the studio,
Yeah.
you have the brand manager in the studio, you have the voice director in the studio, you have the studio manager, and maybe you have an assistant, something. You have like minimum 3 to 4 people who are directing. Sometimes by the time you come out, you're all sweaty because you've taken 1 million takes. Brand manager, you've taken like 10 of his takes. Creative director, you've taken 15 of his takes. So you end up taking so many takes. Now, those takes help shape you. I only got to realize this a lot later in my career. Like, these things will actually work. Both the ones that didn't work, the ones that will tell you, no, make it exciting. Like, smile. Like, in your head, it's not right. It doesn't sound natural, but now then call you can't work now. You have to give them that take too. So all those things they add to who you are as a voice of a talent over the years. So, but these days where we have people just record, and post-production, you can tweak a lot of things, tweak, and just send. So it has taken that part away from the industry. That's the bad part. But the good part is easy accessibility. Somebody reaches out to you, I want a job in 1 hour. You be like, okay, go pay. You just go into the studio, you cook it, and it's out. So that's the good part. It makes business swift and easy. But it has taken away that training from different
The
people directing you
meticulousness with
differently.
what goes into takes.
It has taken that away from the industry. I don't know. People who've had the opportunity, to experience that will definitely know that there's a difference. So that's one thing. Then another thing about development, I also like the fact that the industry has evolved so much that there are so many young voice talents now coming in. It's beginning to look like an industry. Before now, truth be told, the voice is just voiceover. There's no end talk of industry attached to it. There's no end. No, that's the truth. That's the truth. It's just, we know people who do voiceovers. This guy does voiceover. This girl does. So when there's a job, you just reach out to them and get the job done. It wasn't as broad as it is now. These days, I mean, see you guys now. You guys are on fire. We have Sarah, we have tcode everywhere. There are young people online. There are talents everywhere. So it's making the industry broader. It's now giving it that form, that industry form. Somebody can have a conference comfortably and have 500 people attend. Voiceover talents, 1,000 people attend. They exchange ideas. That's a major sign of growth in the voiceover industry. Before now, it wasn't like that. I mean, before you put 50 voiceover talents together, you don't walk tire. I mean, you have to. So these are signs of growth in the industry. And as I said earlier, they have their good sides. They also have their bad sides. But generally, I think I'm happy that the industry is headed where it's headed right now, particularly in Africa, Nigeria and Africa as well.
Yeah. You see,
Amazing. So
let
last question on that part.
okay.
With the with new technology and things like AI and all of that, what is the future you see for African voiceover?
Okay, so the future is bright for those who see the future. So there's something about us Africans. To be fair to those who go the extra mile to find out things, to learn things, but Africans do not like to push and learn that much, particularly the young generation. Respect to everybody who is not in that class. But the truth is, the future is bright. With AI, there are so many opportunities, but those opportunities will only be available to people who know how to use them. So it's to find them, harness them, and make the best out of them. So I had a conversation with somebody. It was it last month or 2 months ago, about this AI thing and voiceovers. It was like, forget this thing, AI everywhere. You can just go somewhere, put a voice and generate a voice. There's no career in voiceovers. That's how much information that person has. Matter of fact, as an African, we can utilize AI. We can cash in on this AI drive in the voiceover industry and make the very best for ourselves. So I give her an instance. There's this recording I do for clients in the Netherlands. It's a daily recording. It's like a TV show. It converted to a YouTube channel. And it's a long form recording. I'm not a fan of long form recording, but when money is involved now, you have to just be a fan. You have to be a fan. So I battle with that recording whenever I do it. It's a daily thing. Imagine you have to record for like 30 minutes, 1 hour. No post-production, like direct recording, the full session. 30, 45 minutes, 1 hour every single day. So at a point, drudgery set in. I was tired, like, this thing don't tire me. But when I see the money really come, I'll be like, you have to behave well. Do you know that as I speak to you right now, AI is doing that work for me easily?
Wow.
Client is not complaining. I am not stressing. AI does that work for me. So these are opportunities in that space. These things exist. But I mean, if you don't find out, if you don't get to learn to know where these things are and how you can key into it, there's no future. You just be like that lady that was saying, there's no future in the voiceover industry, particularly for Africans and all that. So there's a huge future. It's just to know those things and see how you can key into them and make the best out of them.
That's deep. Like, let's say I can't hold your leg now to learn 1 or 2 tricks. But Ahmed, thank you for bringing all of this out. And obviously, when you speak, it gives us a lot of insights to how you've been there before the industry, like you said, became. So let's talk about the industry before the industry. Let's do a little bit of digging into the past, right? I recall one of the voiceover conferences, I think that was 2 years ago, the voiceover conference, when you were speaking and you talked about how you moved from Porthacort to Lagos and you began to learn how the industry works. Unlike where you were a king in Porthacort, but coming to Lagos, you realized that there was a lot of competition. So I'd like you to give us some insights to what the industry was like then and how it evolved to becoming what we see today as industry. And I know you can't tell this story without talking about, which you already referenced, your moves with producers and studios. But again, most importantly, there is the association part of it, So give us a clue as to what it was like back then, the roles the association played, and the struggles of voiceover artists like you in that era.
Okay, so that era, I don't know, do we call it the stone age of voiceovers? Because I mean now now guys get it easy. I mean you can just put something up on Instagram and somebody will reach out to you and say, "Ah, guy, you do voiceovers? Do this thing for me now.
Mm,
I give you 50K now. No, 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 give me 100K." You know, you just negotiate your deal and you get money and you do the job. So
yeah.
then it wasn't like that. So back to my own story. Lagos is where it's happening. So when I moved into Lagos fully. By the way, I'm a Lagos boy. I was born in Lagos. I schooled in Lagos, but at the point I went to Porthacort, schooled in Porthacort. And so when I came back to Lagos fully, and I needed to get into the voiceover space, then I had honed my skills to a large extent in Porthacort, and I was like, let me come and chop this Lagos money full time. Because even when I was in Porthacort, the number of times when I visited Lagos, I just come around, go to the studio, you just see a studio guy say, there's a script though, you do it. And they'll just give you one surprising money, like, that's what they pay for here. You know? So that was part of what drove me to Lagos. So what the industry used to be like before now was, for you to do a voiceover, you have to be connected to an agency. If you're not connected to an agency, there's no way you do a job. So what I was doing then, I went on there's this Yellow Pages. I don't know if that book is still available now. It's like a collection of emails and phone numbers of businesses in Lagos.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it before. It's huge, very big book.
I have an idea of what.
Heard about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll go to that book and I'll be looking for advertising agencies. I see a number, I'll copy, I'll call. I see an address, I'll visit. I visited a lot of agencies, just go there randomly. I do voiceovers. They'll be like, eh. Some of them will play with you, say, go to the studio, yeah, record the script, you know. I was doing that like intentionally back to back. I was moving from the island to the mainland, you know, like that. Visiting people, telling them I do voiceovers. If you have scripts, so I don't mind, you know. That was what the industry was like then. It's either you are known, of course, it's who knows you that will call you now. Imagine nobody knows you and you're doing, even if you like, have the best voice in the world, as long as nobody knows you, you're not getting any job. So the only way is just to go out there, you know, meet these guys, and that's how the jobs come. So that was the way it was. I didn't know if this 20, this should be 2011, 2012. 2011, 2012. Yes. Even up to 2011, 12, 13. Okay, we did the Red Bull in 2015. Up until 2015, 2016. So from 2011 up till like 2016, all this was happening. So that's the whole process. You have to be connected to an agency. If you're not connected to an agency, there's no job for you. So you get to meet people, go out. Oh God, this is what I do. This is what. Basically, that was it. That was the process. That was how it worked.
So how have you been able to change the business approach with the times? I mean, since you don't have agencies, well, not like we don't have them, but you don't have to rely on them anymore. How has that switch been for you? And would you say brands are still as receptive as back then when you would go and meet them one-on-one or meet them through an agency? How has that business part evolved now for you?
Okay, so it's like any other business. It's a network. It's not like the brands, the agencies have faded away. The agencies are still there. But the model is not as strict as it used to be before, where for you to get a job as a voiceover talent, you need to go through an agency. It's not as strict as that anymore, but the agencies still work. So, I mean, working over time, I've worked with a number of agencies and I still have their contacts. They still have my contact. So when they have jobs this time around, they still call you, guy, there's job we go do. Guy, there's job we go do. So that part is still there. So you still have that network. I still have guys all over the agencies. So when there are jobs, they are Lekon, how far can you do this? So that's still there. But going by the evolution of the voiceover industry, merging in the internet and everything, I've also moved in that regard. I mean, social media platforms, online platforms are getting bigger. P2P platforms where you pay, show what you can do, clients will reach out to you. So for me, I'm a hustling guy. I just explore all of them. While the agency ones still come based on the relationships I've built over time. That one is just there on the side. I still explore the new ones that the internet has made available to us as voiceover talent. And I think that's what everyone who is success driven should do. Look at the opportunities you have, try to get new ones, put everything together, and it births success.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I also noticed that you're a top seller on Upwork. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I wasn't an Upwork fan until about 2021. Tcode, if you remember, we had a conversation once when we were having those gist on what's the name of that platform again?
What's it called now? Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. That was when it looks like conversations about the industry started, and I was really interested. Like, oh, this guy. Yeah. I remember one of those Clubhouse conversations. I remember we spoke about, and I was discouraging young talents that don't go on Upwork. I don't know if you remember, Tcode.
I remember the prices were ridiculous and stuff like that. We had that conversation.
Yes. Please, if you heard that from me and you decided to cancel Upwork, forgive me. Because I can imagine you going there and seeing my figures now. You'd be like, this guy as if should not come here. See what he's doing here.
This boss was lying to us.
So it wasn't. So then it's still that way till today. The rates on Upwork are very, very ridiculous. Like $5, $10, $15 work, and you're wondering like, bad like this now. But in was it 2020, 2021? I went for a training. It had to do with sound production, film production, and all that. And one of my colleagues there, he was a top Upwork guy. And when he has conversations about Upwork, and I'll be like, this same Upwork. He was always saying nice things about Upwork, how he needs to withdraw. I said, let me take a look at this Upwork again. So I went back to Upwork and I started looking at it. I said, this thing, let me even try it, Sha. The first work I did on Upwork was a $15 work. It's like, then the dollar was not as big as it is now. I think the dollar, I can't remember the exact figure, but it wasn't big. So on a normal day, the agency was paying me more than Upwork would pay. Unlike now, if you get a $50 work on Upwork, you will smile well. You will smile well. So then the value of the Naira was still high, so it wasn't too big. And let me just do it and see. So one of the days I saw a Nigerian, Abim. You should know Abim. Shout out to Abim.
Voice of Abim.
Yes, Voice of Abim. Yeah. I saw his profile. I just told him this thing this year, like in February. I saw his profile and I think I saw around $9,000+. And I was like, $9,000. Somebody can do. Are you saying this guy gathered $5, $10 up to $9,000? So, if this guy did that, I would try it. Let me see. And that was it for me. He was a major motive. He didn't know. I just told him that in this year, 2024. I was like, okay, let me try it. Wow. I'm sharing the Upwork story. So I got an Upwork. I started paying attention. I learned a lot of things. I started reading a lot about Upwork, how it works, gigs and all. And jobs just started coming. $10, $20, $50, 100. At the point it started moving. So there's a category. When you get to a particular category, they lift you up. And the higher you go, the more visible you are to certain level of clients. So I think that's the way the platform works. And I started getting better jobs, $50, $45, $100. And the thing was started. So one of the withdrawal, and then when I started the withdrawals I was doing $50 withdrawal, $60. I'd be like, almost $1. I go, small like that. This thing I'm telling you, it wasn't in 2005. Like I was already working on major brands at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a lot of humility for me to do that. Like I was already working with brands like Coke, Samsung. I had retainership with like a couple of them. Like I was getting normal money from normal voiceover. And I say I'll be voiceover guy. They give me money. But I was doing this $5, $10 thing, and it just started growing like that. God just worked it out, and you won't believe that by the end of the year, that 2021, I was shocked that when I looked at my stats, I'd done over 21,000. I was like,
wow.
Wow. And I was like, there's business here. So I paid full attention. I paid full attention to Up.
That's
so
amazing.
As it stands, even till today, Upwork is still one of my biggest voiceover paying platform. Yeah.
I know. In recent times, Upwork rules have changed. Sorry, tcode.
Yeah. No. Please go on. I'm enjoying this.
I also, for the major part of the beginning of my career, I also used to use Upwork a whole lot. I mean, 2021, 2022, most of my gigs came from Upwork. But I know in recent times, a lot of their rules have changed. You have to buy more connects than before. You even have to buy connects to turn on your visibility badge, and the job rates have become, the prices and the rates I see on jobs are even more ridiculous than they used to be back then. So I'm like, how are you still able to cope with that and ride above all that?
Okay, so what happens on Upwork? I don't know how the algorithm works, but I'm trying to imagine this is the way it works. I'm a top rated plus talent on Upwork. So when you're top rated plus, they say you belong to like the 10% of talents on the platform. So a lot of times when brands want to do certain, they have premium brands on Upwork.
Yeah.
Yes, they have premium brands. So when those premium brands want to do jobs on Upwork, they don't put the ads like the general ads. Like just put it where everybody will just come and start spamming them. They have like 10,000 people to interview. They don't do that. So they select the people they send the jobs to. So that's how I have been getting my sustenance on Upwork. Then aside that too, I don't think it's just me, because I've heard this testimony before. So once in a while they have these, they have these Upwork conversations where talents come and you meet. They talk about things, developments, Nigeria, and all. So I think somebody shared the same story. So I think it's not just me. If you've been on Upwork for a while and you've been consistent, chances are that you will have like 2 clients who will still be with you. So I can't remember the last time I applied for a job on Upwork. It's been over 3 years, but there's hardly a day that I don't do a job on Upwork. Yeah, so my connects, I don't even use them. I just see them every month. They renew the connects. I don't know if it's 10 or so, but I always have so many connects because I hardly use them. Very, very rare. Because I have 2 clients who always, once in a while, there's a third one. So all that still has to do with building connection, doing your work well and trying to establish relationship with people when we work as voiceover talent, which is very, very, very important. Young voiceover talents these days, they don't know how to build rapport. tcode, one of their lecturers, you should tell them. They don't know how to build rapport. Let me even just say this. I contacted a voice talent for a job. I had a job and I felt the voice was good for that job, and I reached out to him and like, your voice will sound well on this project. The guy gave me fee one hand. That his fees, he gave a fee. It wasn't really about the fee, but the way he went about it, that I have to pay him up front, and I was like, guy, calm down. Me, I be voiceover talent. I do voiceover too. Relax. He was like, no, Baba, no, that's his style, oh, that you have to pay him up front so that tomorrow they don't go and say they don't want to use the voice again. I said, is it that you don't trust your voice? You don't trust your work enough that you've done this thing, they will pay for it. Why you? So, as it stands right now, I don't rule that guy come up for my voiceover artist list. So sometimes people do these things, they don't know. There's the part of your talent, your creativity. There's also that part of human relationship. Sometimes you need to bend a little bit, and so that the client will look at you and be like, this guy, I like you. So apart from the fact that you do good jobs for me, I think I like your human relationship. So that's one thing that keeps clients with you for a long time. It has worked magic for me, and it's works for me on Upwork, outside other platforms. So I think young talents should also learn that.
Yeah, that's so profound. And I think I need to add that to part of the mistakes that I also made early on my career. I made a reference to that before, and I'm going to, highlight it again since you mentioned it. Dimitri. Dimitri is one of also, people that did voiceovers.
The man with the gray hair.
And yeah, right. And this was just like when I was also beginning to come up in the industry. I shared the story the last episode, and Dimitri reached out to me, and I didn't know who he was. So I think he wanted me on the project. Somebody recommended me to him, and I went on to introduce myself as I am the winner of Nigeria Voice Acting Contest. This is my.
And this guy, I will blow my trumpet myself in case you didn't know.
Right? And I was trying to also give prize. We didn't work on that project again. Even though Dimitri was still on my contact, much later when I understood the implication of what I did, I was still even shame to catch me to enter in DM again and say, boss. Till today, I never enter in DM, but I'm more mature enough to know what to do now. But the thing, I think again, we all have this kind of stories, because also you shared yours, how back then you had that version of you that was just like, I don't arrive. So, and these are mistakes that, it's almost inevitable. Some people will make it. But I think learning to be a good human and being humble enough will take you far. I would also like to say that I think again that the style of marketing voiceovers these days in this era, it's too I think this is the word superfluous. I guess that word is what I'm looking for. Where we kind of like highlight the sweet parts too much. Do you know you can make money with your voice? It's not like you can't make money with your voice, but when we use that to begin the conversation, we change the perspective already.
Yeah.
So when we're having conversations like that, we're making people think that, see, this thing, you don't invest, you have to repeat. Nobody must cheat you. Draft your this, draft your that. And that I struggled with that for a while. I can't really blame people too, because again, you are actually working. And because you have this preconceived notion that people are out there to cheat you, you want to protect yourself. You're thinking, what relationship help? I beg, pay me my money. If not, some people have been burnt. Some people have stories. And that takes me to our next conversation. The agency matters. I'm going to let you talk about that, but let me give you a bit of context to this topic I want us to touch on. Over the week, that was last week, King E, the founder of the Voiceover Workshop, put out a content talking about how agencies would I guess you guys must have seen that, owe talent for a very long time. But his perspective towards that content was more of talents being informed enough to know when to say no to deals and contracts that aren't favoring them. Agencies can go as far as owing you for a year, for years, sometimes months, right? And the replies, the comments to that content was like loaded. People, especially the OGs, had to come out. Sean Shabo had his stake. A lot of other people, Eric Maximus and all of that. So what's your take on this? Because it gets me. I struggle to understand why. I've not been in this industry long enough like you have, and your era, you guys saw all of that. Even till date, agencies still owe voice talent. What is the problem with that? Should we assume that it is the norm for there to be a considerable amount of delay? What should we call considerable? At what point are agencies already, going past the line? What are the things that voiceover artists should do to, protect themselves? Should there be hardcore contracts that we should sign? Because you're talking about relationships now, and do you know how it is when someone reaches out to you, especially an agency, and you're like, we should put pen in paper so that we'll not hear stories that touch. That would not be considered as building good relationship. So we need to put a balance to this, and I really want to hear your take on this. What do you think, based on your experience in the industry?
So that matter, I saw the second post. So King E did the first one. I saw the follow-up post.
Yeah.
And I also dropped a comment. I was like, you see this conversation, we're never ready to get them. So the truth is, voiceover in Nigeria is still evolving. We still have, we've come a long way from where we used to be, but we still have a long way to go. That problem is a very big problem. As I speak to you, there are agencies there are jobs that I did last year, 2 years ago. I have not seen the money. Some of them have written them off, like, this one don't enter bad debts, forget about it, it's gone. But so if tomorrow they wake up and say, guy, I see the credit alert, I'll be like, and I remember me today. But it shouldn't be that way. So the ideal thing is max 3 months. Max, like it's too far. There's a time we were seeing contracts of 3 weeks. There's a time I have signed contracts for 1 month. They tell you after 1 month, you get your pay. It shouldn't exceed 1 month. But the max I've ever seen, the max contract I've ever seen is 3 months. But these days, I mean, agencies, though, who has time to sign contract again? Except maybe the brand is particular. Maybe they've had an issue in the past, and they are trying to, block all ends. That's when they give you contract. But it's really rare for an agency to give you a job and say, this is the contract for you to sign. It's just a few still organized agencies who have affiliations with other countries that still do that. But the core Nigerian agencies, bros, they don't do it. You do the job, is when the money is available, that's when they pay you. And it's very, very wrong. And let me tie this to what I said earlier about the evolution of the voiceover industry. I said the voiceover industry is changing. There are good sides and there are bad sides. One of the bad sides of this change we're witnessing in the industry, where we're having more people come into the business, particularly young people who have great voices. I mean, you hear some voices, you'd be like, wow, see talent, You're coming in without a voiceover structure. If you remember, this has been one of my major agenda that I carried on my head when we started these voiceover conversations back then. I've always believed in a structure. It's not about the size of the industry. It's not the size that matters. Like, there are 1 million voiceover talents in Africa. No. What is the structure that holds them together? The structure that holds them together is more important than the number of voiceover talents we have in that space. Let me give you an instance. We're talking about payment and how it should be. Let me give you an instance. So, for instance, let's talk Nigeria now. In Nigeria, we have voice talents everywhere. There's tcode here, there's Sarah here, there's this guy here. We're all doing our things individually. People reach out to you. They want to do jobs. They do these jobs and they go. There's no affiliation with you and any other body or structure that you say, I'm attached to this, I'm attached to that. You get? When it comes to abuses, because that structure is not in place, we cannot check those abuses. Imagine if we have a structure in place that we all belong to. We say, we are voice talents, we belong to this. This is us. This is our force. So the moment you get into the voiceover industry, you get into that force. That way, we have a collective voice. If I do a job, and ideally, you should pay me 2 months after that. If after 2 months you have not paid me, I have the right to speak I say, my people, oh, this is our force. Come, oh, are you seeing what is happening? Is it happening to you guys too? Is it happening to anybody in this force? This is our force. Somebody will say, you'll be shocked. Somebody will say, it's me too, me too, me too. So it looks like it's a trend now. We can now, because we belong to that force, that house. We can now come and say, no, let's speak against this. Do you understand? We can now say, no, we move out to the brands. We move out. We can sanction a brand and say, no voiceover talent in so in Nigeria should do a voice for. People do it now. Should do a voice for this brand because this brand keeps faulting. This brand keeps insulting voiceover talent. This brand keeps making voiceover talents feel less than they really are. Do you get? We can do that and achieve these things. But imagine a situation, this like what we have now in Nigeria. Sadly, you're doing your own thing. This one is doing my own thing. If a brand, for instance, tcode, you're working with a brand and something happens, the brand presses your neck. The worst you can do is just maybe call the brand out. Nobody follow you fight. Because they'll tell you when you are collecting money, did you call us? Which one is our own again? I mean, it depends on how the atmosphere is. You might just get a few reactions, it dies off. Because you are just one voiceover talent. Or
it's just the culture.
It's just you.
There are nobody.
Exactly. So that's the bad part of not having a structure. If you check developed climes where they've developed their, say, SAG-AFTRA, all these other voiceover bodies that have developed things, where you hear, no voiceover talent is working with this brand. No, voiceover talent are saying you must add 10% to. How do you achieve those kind of things if you're not together? Do you understand? It has always been my issue with people. When I talk, they say, this one is avoir. I'm not avoir. Why we say that and bring avoir into the picture is because avoir is the only structure. Yes, avoir is dilapidated, avoir has issues, but avoir is the only structure that is existing right now. Forget these other things. Yeah, people are doing businesses. People are trying to project. Shout out to everyone who is, making an effort to project the voiceover industry in Nigeria. Shout out to them. They are doing well. The likes of King E. You are doing fantastic. Forget they're saying a young guy, but you're doing well. Like you're projecting the industry. You're trying to push that this is a space. You get, and to a large extent, it's selfless. It's selfless because we know when people are trying to push agenda to position themselves as brands, so that when you say voiceover, they will come out. We know that one. That one is different from what a few people in the industry do to project the entire industry. So why I always whenever this conversation gets to this point, I always say we have for now. Do we have any other structure? The only structure we have that is a bit shaky is avoir. Do you know that as voiceover talents, we can come together? If we come together, these things will change.
Yeah.
I mean, if we come as a force, say everybody who is practicing voiceovers professionally in Nigeria, it's a pressure group. We have that force. We have that. We can tell them if you're a brand and you want to work with so, these are the terms. We can set our terms. We can draft our contract. We can have lawyers say, this is voiceover lawyer. He will draft contracts for us, and the brands will not play with it when they see the force. There's power in unity. When they see the force that comes with this arrangement, they'll be forced, they'll be compelled to obey. But when they see that it's one man fight, everybody one man fight. Shout out to Eric. Eric was sharing a story with me one time how he was going to certain agencies to ask for the money they were owing him. One man, solo. Sometimes you go, they won't even allow you see who you should see. They'll direct you to the studio manager. Studio manager, he never ready. You vent and leave. Imagine if we had a body, like a strong force that we are all a part of. We're not talking about individuals who are doing businesses and running voiceover things. We're talking about a body, like a pressure group, like that association, which Avoa was playing that role, even if it's a bit epileptic now, but that function is still there. So until we do this, forget what anybody is saying. Forget it. Individually, we cannot win this war because these brands are big. Brands are bigger than us, whether or not we like it. Agencies are bigger than us. As a matter of fact, I remember having a light, they call it beer parlor conversation with one of the producers then, with I think it was Insight Communications. I was like, he was also a voiceover talent at the time. It was like, that voiceover talents are the least, that they are the smallest people in the chain of production. That they attend to every other thing first before they attend to voiceover. And I'm like, really? That's the normal thing in those big agencies. They are big, they are very big. So they see you as call that guy, let him come and voice it. Let's use his voice. Voice is good. So as long as we keep pulling ourselves apart, the industry is growing. Yes, it's growing big. But instead of growing and coming together to form a strong force, we are growing and expanding, pulling ourselves up. We'll keep having these problems. It will get worse. As long as we're growing this way, the way we're growing, it will get worse. Because anybody who is a brand, say, for instance, tcode, you manage to build your brand and your brand becomes very strong. Yes, you can walk up to a client and dictate your terms. No. If you're not giving me this, I'm not doing it. I'm leaving, How many will you say the industry is blossoming? If that happens, if there are 10 people in the industry and only one person can do that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you are covered because you have built your brand. You are covered. No, me, I'm premium. You can't tell me you can't pay. I know voiceover talents in Nigeria, in Lagos today, that before they leave their house, you will pay them. You have to pay them. They have to see the money. You will pay those ones that, we understand that. But how many in 100 people you have like just 2 people who have been able to strong their mind and say, this is how I want to do it, and they do it and succeed at it. People like us we look things from different sides and we try to balance things up. We just be like, give it a human face, bend here. And that's why we keep seeing jobs once in a while. Sometimes if you say you want to be stiff, you're stiff, you have to do this, this is the way it should be, they'll just start leaving you. And before you know it, you just see yourself, voiceover talent that doesn't do any voiceovers anymore. You just become that. So back to the original conversation. For as long as we are not together, for as long as we do not belong to a house, a force, we can't change these things on our own. Yeah, we can make some dictations. We can try to make some things happen for us as individuals. For me, there are brands I've worked with that I can comfortably say, Oga, no. If you're not paying me 700K for this job, I'm not doing it. If it's not 1 million, I know they will come back because of the way we've built, But how many people can do that? How many young voice talents can do that? And before you know, these abuses will start increasing. Somebody will get somebody on Instagram. He'll just do anyhow. They'll settle on a fee. If your fee is 100K, at the end of the day, they do the job. Okay, I don't like this job. We give you 10K. That will start murmuring. Why? There's nobody to fight for him. The worst he can do is call the brand out on social media, maybe small talk, blah, 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 blah. It ends. But imagine if we were together as a body. We are a force. Anybody who is practicing voiceover is a part of this. And something happens to one, it touches everybody. Are you serious? That thing happened. We'll do a letter to the brand or the agency. This is what you did. No, it is unacceptable. We condemn, Bro, things will start taking shape. Everywhere, every industry where things are working, these things happen. They face the government and the government listens. They face brands, so until we get that right, bros, this conversation will never ready to get them. You can't do anything as an individual. The worst that will happen is they'll say, no, give that guy work again. That's the worst that will happen.
This is so profound. And I really share in your sentiments when it comes to the thinking that we need a structure. I've always been clamoring for that. We started having this conversation in 2021. When we would have those clubhouse conversations and we would have people bash Avwa. And to be honest, right, I can see where they're coming from. And I can also see the other argument from the other end. As much as we want to say, oh, Avwa should do better, we also need to, how do I put it now? Because people think that because Avwa is not doing well, we don't need it. And a lot of people think that because they are doing well, they don't need a structure, they don't need an association. And I'm like, it may be good with you. You're good doing your thing. But when you look at us as a collective, as a whole, we're losing out on a lot of things, right? So thank you for doing this and talking about this and still being a member of Avwa. And this conversation is not about Avwa, though, but it's about what we can do to make it better. There are questions I would love to ask. I'm not sure if it's you I should be asking because there are people that will better answer the question about what Avwa can do better to help us solve this problem. But the little that I know, you mentioned how Avwa has been, working for the industry in the past years, and even very recently, I am very aware that there were members of Avwa who Avwa fought for this year. They were owed by agencies, and Avwa wrote to them. I'm sure you're aware, and
I was a
because
part.
I'm a member,
I got some money from that too.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. I mean, if there was no Avwa, the money probably would never come. So we need these associations. The questions and no, the conversations we should start having is how do we make things better in these places? How can the place be better? And speaking of making things better, I want to make a big shout out to the man who has been leading Avwa in the past few years, the president of Avwa. In his tenure, Avwa has, grown, having more young people join. Avwa now has a website. Avwa was able to, create forums like having webinars and programs like Voice First. I mean, he has been able to do a couple of things, and this is just the beginning. But a very big shout out to the president of the Association of Voiceover Artists Nigeria, Avwa, in person of Mr. Segun Arinze, a legendary Nollywood actor and voice actor, voiceover artist. Today is his birthday.
Happy birthday
Today is his
to
birthday.
you.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Are we going to sing now? But I think we I don't know. I want to attempt something. I want to give him a call, and I hope he's going to pick it on the show so we can all give him a shout out. Yeah. So let's hope that Mr. Segun Arinze picks the call. Hello, sir. This is tcode.
Hello.
Happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you.
Wow, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You are live on the podcast, the Everything Voiceovers podcast, and here we have Sarah Johnson and Ahmed Olalekan on the podcast.
Happy birthday, sir.
We're doing fine, sir. Today is your day, and we thought it's best to call you live on the podcast. The whole world is going to listen to it after the recording is done, and we hope you're enjoying your day. And we want to say a big thank you for everything you're doing for the industry, being the president of Avwa. Yeah, we're just talking about the memorable things that you've been doing with the Voice Fest, with the webinars, with the website, and many more things you're doing. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, sir. So, Sarah and Ahmed, do you have something to say to the president before I drop this call?
Ogami, God bless you, sir.
Well
God
done,
bless you,
sir.
sir. Ogami, I will call you specially.
Yes, well done, sir. I wish you a happy birthday, and I pray that you're strengthened to continue to do more great stuff.
Sarah, speaking to you, said, how have you been?
I've been good. It's good to hear from you, sir. Happy birthday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know if you heard me. I was saying that, I hope that, you're strengthened to continue to do more amazing stuff for the industry. God bless you with everything you've done so far.
I believe that now that we have the opportunity to everybody and enjoy the love, we didn't get that kind of encouragement. without
Mm-hmm.
it will help now to start the macaron, train them, nurture them, let them do insight
Absolutely.
into the kind of knowledge that we have. And it's
Mm-hmm.
important
Mm-hmm.
for the young and upcoming ones. And then they get established and then they can pass on to the generation next.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Well done, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a good time talking to you always, and I look forward to our next meeting and everything that is happening with Avoa. Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir. Amen. Have a great
God
day.
bless you,
Bye.
sir.
Amen. Bye, sir.
Yes, sir. Oh, that was nice. I'm
Yeah.
I
proud of us.
know.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
one for the books. So
Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Shegun Arinze, such a great man. Is an honor to meet him and work with him, and it's an honor for us to have him in the industry. Many people don't know how important it is to have someone like him, right? And I just would encourage that we support as much as we can, right? And yeah, the industry, the future is bright for us. Okay, now.
Absolutely.
So we have had a long conversation, and I want to say a big thank you to Ahmed for sticking with us till this time.
Yes. Thank you, Ahmed.
Ahmed has shared a lot, but we would have to have Ahmed some other time so we can talk more about other things that we Ahmed is into. For instance, Project Eden. Ahmed, we didn't have time to talk
Ooh.
about that. And a couple of stuff that you're into. I know that you're working on there was something you reached out to me about that you're working on recently, but we've not had the opportunity to go into that really. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to
So
touch on that or
yeah.
yeah,
So
please.
yeah, let me just quickly touch on that. Thank you for the opportunity. So Project Eden is my way of giving back to the voiceover industry. I don't think I've given back enough. And I'm a Christian, and
Mm.
by my Christian faith, I believe that as much as possible, we should always give back. So I don't think I've given enough to the industry. So there are things I think can benefit people, that I think young people can learn from as voiceover talents. So that's what Project Eden is about. So I was putting the project together, about work, other projects. At the point, I just had to rest it. The project is like 60% complete, but I'm not done with it
Ooh.
yet. A lot of other things are still pulling me back. You guys hustle now. Hustle is the key thing. So that's why
Mm.
Project Eden is still a bit slow now. But uh, I'm looking at launching next year. So before then, hopefully we'll get on the podcast again. Tcode.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
we'll
can't wait
get
to
on the
have you
podcast.
again, Sarah and I.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, we
can't
have a
So
great conversation.
wait.
so we'll
And
talk
I
we'll
can't wait
talk
to
Yeah,
see
about
the
yeah,
great
yeah.
all
things
of
that
that.
Project Eden does.
Yeah. There's something I need to mention before we end this episode of the podcast. So Sarah, I'll let you talk about the donation thing that we have been able to activate, but I just want to touch on this quickly. So on the last episode, while we were giving the highlights of what happened over the week before then, which was the week when Sarah was in Lagos for the Lagos Comic Con, I was at the VO Africa conference. There was a session that was taken by Seun Shobo where it was talking about how to you know how to do commercial reads, right? Like how to, book them. So there was a part where he was talking about statistics on commercials, and he did talk about Africa having a share of $200 billion. But I misquoted that by saying that the voiceover industry in Africa is worth $200 billion. So
Hmm.
he reached out to me to say, oh, what he actually meant, and then he shared the picture of the statistics with me. He said, that's the statistics of commercials, right? So, there are commercials, there are animations, like these are like pockets of industries, right? For
Mm.
the commercial space, with or
Yeah.
without voiceover, it's a $200 billion market in Africa. And properly, the statistics is a $400 billion market in North Africa, a $300 billion market, or a $350 billion market in Europe. In Asia, it's about 300. In Latin America, it's about 250, and in Africa, it's 200. So I thought to put it out there just to correct the wrong information that I gave last week. So I hope that someone is able to put that into proper context, and yeah, you work with the right stuff. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Shobot as well for doing what he does for the industry and helping us have a feel of that particular statistics. So yeah, Sarah, you can go on and give us the spill the tea about.
All right. So
Yeah.
we've set up a little something called Show Me Love.
Mm.
And this is this is where you can show us love and donate and, contribute to the podcast financially, show us love. This goes into building the podcast, paying the awesome team, because a lot of work goes into putting a podcast together. We have a team strong of about 10 people, if not more. Tcode, am I correct? We have the audio editors, we have the audio editors, we have the video editors, we have those that help us manage social
The social
media
media
and do all
team,
that stuff. So, and
the
these people get paid. We don't do
communications,
with you guys for them.
graphics. Yeah,
And this
yeah,
level of excellence we bring to you comes with a cost. So, if you
yeah,
love what we're doing so far and all the knowledge you get to learn on this podcast, so you can just go ahead, show us love through the link that will be down wherever we're going to post this. There's definitely
yeah,
going to be a link attached, so just go ahead and do
yeah.
your thing.
We're actually a team of 7. Just
Oh
thought to
yeah,
put
see,
that
so
into
almost
context.
10. I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you were. So thank you guys for being a part of the podcast every week. We really do appreciate it. And a big deal, I should announce this. It's not an announcement, it's just a reminder. The ABVA Awards is happening this Saturday. So if this is dropping on Friday and you get to listen to it on Friday, stay tuned for the ABVA Awards happening on Saturday, the biggest award for voiceover artists, podcasters, and spoken word artists across Africa. And this is the third
Yes.
edition, and I am privileged to be the co-host again. And I look forward
Drop in the money,
to seeing.
Tico.
Come on, boss, you are the one chopping. Like, did you hear the things that Ahmed was
I
saying?
had
Low key,
21K on
there's
Upwork.
hardly
That's
a
not small money.
good day.
Please.
He said there's hardly a
No,
day he's not doing a job on
no,
Upwork.
that
AI is
that
making
money,
money for Ahmed.
that money don't end
Abeg.
since, so you don't finish.
And I love the
Boss.
perspective. I just to touch back on that a little bit. I love the perspective you're looking at the AI thing with. It's like it's not the
Yeah.
enemy. How you've employed it to make money for you. Where people feel like, oh, this is here to take our jobs. It's like, nah. Let's find a way to work this thing for us so that we are still seen as you really can't do these things without these guys. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot
Yeah.
of opportunities in that direction. And I hope that rather than just being scared of it, people get to explore it and, find a way to make it work for good.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ahmed. I'm so inspired by your story. I'm going back to Upwork to figure out how it works and make it work for me. And also do the
I mean,
adjustment
see,
that I need
I'm
to
going
do.
to dust my Upwork account too, because I also used to be a top-rated talent as well. But then when I got
Yeah.
busy with outside work outside of Upwork, I kind of just left my Upwork account. And just hearing Ahmed
Mhm.
talking about it today again, I'm like, are you sure I'm not going to go back to Upwork and see how things are
Come on,
going
go
over
back,
there?
go back, go back.
Oh
You know
my.
what exchange rate is talking now?
Yeah, so
Mhm. Mhm.
Please
Thank
do.
you so much, Ahmed.
yeah,
It's
thank
lovely
you so
talking
much,
to
Ahmed.
OGs like you. And I love us to have more OGs. There are many of them that I want us to have on
Yeah,
the podcast. So yeah,
absolutely.
Sarah, we're gonna do that moving forward. All
Definitely,
right,
definitely.
guys, it's been a good time on the podcast today. And yeah, this is where we call it a wrap on this episode of the Everything Voiceovers podcast. Thanks to Ahmed Olalekan, our guest, an amazing OG voiceover artist, and Sarah Johnson, my co-host, the voice of Iyanu.
Yanu.
And
Thank
myself,
Did
Tico.
you featured in Yanu, right? T-code.
Yes, I did. I'm the voice of
Oh,
Shiju.
oh, okay. Okay, nice.
And you also featured on Iyanu. I know.
I played two
We caught
characters. I
you.
can't even remember the characters, but I think they were minor characters.
Yeah, we're gonna see all of
Mm.
that when it drops. I will know your voice. Your voice. I've had two clients. I've had two clients use you as reference for me before. They were like, this is the voice we want you to sound like. I was like, God. And these days your voice is everywhere. It has always been everywhere though, but it's like I'm just paying attention to it more and I'm like,
No, but
wow.
so,
Nah.
so I so T-Code, I don't know if we have time. Which we should quickly address this. It's nice you mentioned
Okay,
it.
please do.
The idea
Yeah.
of getting a voice reference to sound. I mean, how can somebody tell a T-Code to sound like me?
Hey,
It's like
God, I
telling me to
beg.
sound like you. It's wrong.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. That's
Yeah.
true. Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of pressure on
Mm-hmm.
you. It's like telling me,
Yeah.
giving me a T-code sample and say, sound like this guy. The moment I see it, I'll be like, this is not my script, sir. I can't do it.
Mm.
Same,
Yeah.
straight to the point. But so sometimes
Yeah.
voice talents make that mistake sometimes too. They give you a script that, this is not within your voice profile. It's off
Yeah.
pitch totally. You will not do it and you start doing some tweaks with post-production to want to, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. So
Mhm.
every voice talent
Mhm.
you should know your voice profile. If you see a job, no matter how juicy the job looks, you look at it like, no, this is not for my voice. I mean, I see jobs like that, I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I can't do this one. It's not like if I struggle, I won't do it, but it won't give my best. So the
True.
best thing is just let it go. And every performance should be a performance you are proud of. Not you do and you're like, I struggle with that in. So I think that on one side, voiceover talents need to learn to say no to certain jobs because they don't fit their voice profile. On the other side, agencies, brand managers who are not very experienced when it comes to selecting voices for certain things should also know that there are certain voices that should work for certain things. Don't try to force a voice that should. How can you be giving a T-code my reference? It's like giving me your reference. I can't sound like you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
But
Thank you so much,
it's all good.
Ahmed. And I think you should please drop your handles or however you would like people to reach out to you if they need to reach out to you either for work or maybe other things like mentorship. That's if you do so.
Okay, at Ahmed Olalekan. That's my handle on Instagram. Instagram is busier these days. On Twitter it's at Ahmed CYP, but Instagram is fine at Ahmed Olalekan. The Olalekan has double N at the end. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can talk and do things, make things happen.
All right. Thank you so much, Ahmed. And just to for what Sarah said earlier on, yes, we have a platform that you can donate to us. We'll put the link in the show notes and in our link tree, so you can send us something, a tip, and we'll be very grateful to have that. All right, that's it for this episode. Sarah, any last words? I'm
Yeah.
signing out already.
No last words. I mean, it's been a great time. So make sure you listen. You can even hold notepad while listening because these insights. Okpo, okpo. Yeah, so
It's
please
plenty.
stay doing what you love. And yeah, it's plenty. It's plenty. So to anyone listening out there, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep growing. Don't let anybody tell you can't do voiceover or whatever freelance thing you're doing, because I feel like a lot of the things we talk about are not relevant to just voiceover artists, but to like the freelance, a
Yeah.
republic as well. So
Yeah.
take these notes
Yeah.
and make sure you keep at it. Just keep going. Yeah, and have a fantastic
Yeah.
time until we see you again.
Yes. See you next week on another episode
right.
of the Everything
All right.
Voiceovers, the African
Peace.
Perspective Podcast. Peace, guys. Bye.